I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Kimpact Development Initiative, Mr. Bukola Ido. Welcome to Political Paradigm, Mr. Ido.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I know it's your habit to monitor elections. I don't even know how you feel about it when you monitor these elections. But before we get into the details of your monitoring, let's just sort of set some base that will serve as credibility for the information you're about to provide. Talk to us about the level of deployment for monitoring this election.
So I think from our organization, you also know that INEC do accredit observers for this election, and other observers were also accredited. So from our organization, KDI, we deploy over 200 observers, and we make sure we cover all the 62 wards. And and that is exactly what we did. And then we had report from over 50% of the polling units on the election day.
Okay, this should be easy for you because I know how difficult it is to deploy across the country, but for 6 local councils, that should be easy for you. So talk to us about the report. I don't think it's a preliminary report. I think it should be a concluded report by now. What you have
we will release the the final reports this morning. This afternoon. Basically, one of the things you have to look at why it has to, because we want it to be holistic. We want that is one of the reasons is the delay. And you recall that as of yesterday, there are still about some upload on IReV because the election results management is also one of the key components we look at. But if you ask me about the deployment, about what you observe generally, I will take it in component. I will take the election security. I will take the INEC administrative oversight on the election, most especially in terms of deployment and also logistics. So, but let's start with that. You see, one of the things that was very discouraging about this election was that most of the polling unit, and I say most of the polling unit, started the election late. And this is just FCT election. No difficult terrain, no riverine area. And you're also looking at within the FCT, Abaji, Kwali, and all of them. So you now have INEC report says they had a 45% opening of polls in terms of polls, early opening. But we have around 38% with what we have, of course. So plus or 2% differential, so that is still possible, but that is not up to 50%, and we should not even be talking about 50%. If, as a matter of fact, this is more or less like a retrogression, because the last election we had in Anambra, the one we had in Edo and Ondo, and INEC had over 80% early commencement of polls, but now we just came down to 45% within and local council election, and that is not it's not encouraging. That is not acceptable, and I think they need to really look into that. There are a lot of, in fact, I was observing personally. This is not a report from our observer. Personally, I was observing in one polling unit because I got there early. One of the major polling units that have like about 4 polling units in that particular place. Post office around Gaki. And then one of the things you find out that you have ad hoc officials coming into the place and trying to locate their own where they are supposed to set up. It's very discouraging that ad hoc officials, INEC staff, come into a place trying to find where they will set up. So that tells you the level of preparation I see in that particular elections.
And INEC doesn't say the reason for the 45% deployment.
We are still expecting that. We are still expecting that to come out. But what will they be saying? See, when you look at election is not something just wake up and say, "Oh, we are conducting an election tomorrow." Procurement was made, and that part of the procurement was the people. Logistic procurement, the people that will convey your material from one point to the other. And then you also notice you gave notice of election. As for this election, because it was being run under the 2022 Act, notice of election was given like about 360 days ahead. So you have the luxury of the time within your armpit to plan. So, and then no matter the excuse, it's not acceptable. We should not be talking about this in 2026. Look at it, just 6 local council area, 1.6 registered voter, 1.5 PVC collected. We are having this kind of, and the thing is that this is not being conducted by a state, it's conducted by the INEC itself at the national level. So it's not something that we should encourage.
And I think it also speaks to training for ad hoc staff, considering that they are unaware of where to set up on election day itself.
It goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that.
With what we have seen, I tell you, there are results on IReV that was uploaded, and then you ask yourself, are these people trained at all? So it goes beyond even they trying to locate the.
It's a general training.
So I think it's a general training on the election day. I saw people myself, and I mean, of course, well, depending on how you look at it, I saw people myself on the bus while they were going to their polling units, trying to quickly flip to look at it, to have the refresher, and try to flip and say, okay, yeah, this is maybe this is what they taught us. So for me, at that particular point, it's late. So, and I also think we need to review, INEC need to review how they train, the methodology, and what they are, what they are using to train, and the duration of the training. For me, one of the suggestions I will give or recommendation, and that we have been giving INEC, is that probably it's time to have a pool of people that you can call on to, and then they will be able to conduct the election. And that gives you people that have been conducting this election over and over and over and over again. So they become, for instance, if somebody has been conducting an election for the past 4 elections, that person has become a guru. Now, this idea that you are training batch A that meets the election, you quickly train batch C of the coppers, that may not really work now again. You will need to call people who have developed that capacity. Let's build that pool, and then let's ask for their availability. Where are you? So, for instance, now, so you have people you have trained for like about 2 election cycles, and they have done that over and over. That means they've developed their capacity, and they can they have experience. So what it means is that you have that pool, and then you can actually call on them to say, look, let's manage this election. Not the people that you train few weeks to the election, and then at the end of the day, and you find out that they are just confused on the feed. So that is not what we should be talking about in 2026. And don't also forget, you see, for me personally, I believe this is the first election this INEC chairman is conducting. Because when people talk about Anambra election, so he was appointed like about 3 weeks to that election. So every arrangement has been made. So that will not. But this is the first election he's conducting, and then this is not a good start for me.
Fair enough. When you talk about the Independent National Electoral Commission, I wanted to take it a step further and talk about the beavers, because we're going to talk about every player in this election. Let's talk about the beavers and the extent to which it worked for accreditation, and compare that to the extent to which it worked for upload of results. So
in terms of accreditation, the report we have at the situation room was beavers worked excellently well. 93% of the polling unit, beavers worked excellently well. Now, it's those 7% that we discovered, we noticed that it had issues around accreditation. In some instances, the coppers, the ad hoc official could not even figure out what was going on. In some instances, it stopped working. In some instances, it was not just accrediting at all. So, and then some of those things were rectified. In fact, I must give it to INEC in terms of that. So when you have 93% performance, it worked well. But the other component, because it's the same beaver that is being used to upload on IReV.
Yes.
One of the things we notice is that, so for instance, you find out that in some polling units you have only 42 voters that came out to vote. And then in that particular polling unit, so as of around 12:30 p.m., the ad hoc officials were already folding their hands. Nobody's coming out. They were just done. So, and such a polling unit, because I observed that polling unit and across and some other reports like that, such a polling unit, the result did not get on IReV until early hours of Sunday morning.
And the reason is?
We don't know.
Is it network failure?
I don't think it should be network failure, because generally the result on IReV generally was very slow.
So the question now is it a server issue or is it a network issue?
I don't.
Because the question also would be, were those results uploaded right away?
So I don't think it's a server issue. I don't think it's a network issue. I think it's deliberate. Now, I say deliberate because it seems to me INEC is trying to do something in terms of maybe they want to get it right. They want what you put on IReV to be the near perfect. Just that, look, this is what we are putting on IReV. We don't need to rush to put things on IReV and then we now begin to have mistake. That is my suspicion. However, the challenge is this. The same thing we had in 2023. You need to communicate. There was no communication to that effect. Nobody is talking to Nigeria that this is why upload on IReV is slow or is going to be slow. You inform us earlier. It's going to be slow because we are going to put this measure in place. And why did I come to that conclusion? Was because 1, 2, 3 polling units and from our observers, we asked them, why is this not uploaded? And they tell you, some of them said they have to come to the collation center to come there before we upload.
That's the instruction they were given?
That was the instruction some of them were given, to come there to upload. And 1 or 2 people were able to upload on IReV. And that upload started around 5 p.m. So meanwhile, some election are signed in 2:30. At 2:30.
Does this not now raise the question of the responsibility of the electorate? If you vote, you stay there, votes are counted, shouldn't the electorate stay and ensure that it's uploaded, especially, not just the electorate in this case, but the agents, party agents?
That is the responsibility. That is the responsibility. But you need to now ask yourself, when they sit there and they say, look, this is the instruction we have to come to the collation center. So you see people going to the collation center with them. So you give it to, in some locations, you give it to the citizen. They did that. In some instances, the party agents made sure they followed to the polling unit, to the collation center to get that one done. But what I am saying is that there was a general pattern.
Yes.
That most of these results were uploaded from the collation center.
But let's get it clear that it should be uploaded from the polling units.
It should be uploaded from the polling unit. Some actually uploaded from the polling unit, but majority did not upload from the polling unit. And it also shows that, look, probably, but this is why I also came to that conclusion, because at the collation center, they were trying to resolve or try to reconcile what you have on your Form E-C-8A and what you have on Beavers before they could allow them to upload. It's good. It's a good idea, but I think there was no communication. That is number one. Number two, that kind of reconciliation, I hope in the coming election, it's not going to be at the World Collation Center, because that is not what the Electoral Act says. So it has to be at the polling unit. So when they need to now find out how are you going to reconcile the figure on your Form E-C-8A and on your Beavers right there at the polling unit, and then you upload.
Yeah, because with the proviso now, it definitely behoves on the agents to observe the upload and then be sure that the network failed at that polling unit before you can conclude that, okay, when you leave this place, it will upload. But then the question is, for council elections that just held, 48 hours, 72 hours after, we still don't have all the results on the IReV. It now raises the question, how long does it take for an upload to go through? 3 days, 2 days after, for how many kilobytes of a picture to go through? What do you see here?
It takes, if you look at it, it takes less than 1 minute to upload.
So then we should be asking questions
We should
why
be asking,
48
and that
hours,
is exactly
72
what we
hours
should be
after,
talking about. And
we
that
don't
is
have
why
those
I
pictures.
said INEC has also kept people on the dark. Everything I am saying here was just based on observation. There has not been any official statement that say, look, this is the reason for the slow upload. This is the reason for 24-hour delay to up. Even as before I came to the studio here, the result on IReV was not 100%.
I checked that as well.
It was not 100%. So what exactly is going on? And election was held when? Just Saturday. Look at it. 48 hours we are still talking about, or 48 hours we are still talking about.
Do you think this is understandable, or do you think it gives credence to the National Assembly's position that we cannot entirely depend on the election results uploaded?
I think this is affirming the National Assembly position, which is not correct. So when INEC do things like this,
it justifies
what those guys are saying.
Not good.
No, not good. Now, because the truth of the matter is that, see, in Nigeria, anytime you have a proviso, most times the proviso becomes the law. And I give you an example. In our law today, it is written there that you should not, you cannot, and you shall not, even decamp. But there is a proviso, except there are issues, disagreement or something within your political party. So people now begin to stick with that and say, look, I don't even like the way the chairman of our party is coughing during meeting. And then you use that, and then you decamp. So the same thing happened here. So when people, you see, we cannot begin to say, look, there is no network or communication, or the communication has failed, and then you now say, look, we have to go to the collation center to do that. Look, there is nothing bad if you are going to do that, but INEC should communicate. Let people know the reason that election was held on Saturday. The election was concluded 2:30, and as of 3-4, results were not on IReV. So what exactly is the issue? They need to communicate, and we need to have that official statement, because we don't want to accept what happened in 2023 when you just come out and say there was a glitch, and then everybody moved on.
Ms. Aido, 15% voter turnout is abysmal, isn't it? We're talking 140-something thousand voters out of 1.6 million voters. What do you think was responsible for something like this? Because it would seem at the time that FCT residents were highly expectant of this election. They were anticipating this election. So what happened?
So there are a lot of factors, if you ask me. Though when you look at the 15%, it was like 6% increase from what you will have in 2022 or 2021, thereabout, the last election, because the last election in FCT was 9%, very low. So we have a bit, now it's 15%. However, the 15% is abysmally low. When you look at 1.6 million registered voters, 1.5 million PVC collected, and then you have 100 and something percent coming out to vote, a lot of factors. Number one, have we been able to resolve trust issue, institutional trust issue, when it comes to INEC, when it comes to our election management body? And I use the word institution because the trust in INEC is there, the security agency is there, the political party is there. So you have to look at that. Have we been able to resolve that? We need to bring back that confidence. And see, some people will tell you they are justified. That why would I come to vote? Look at it now, you voted now, you did not upload on time. So these are the issues. We need to find a means of doing that, because the issue, and for me, the issue we are dealing with is not the issue of participation. It's the issue of election day turnout. Because when you think about it, you think when 1.6 million people registered and 1.5 took the pain to queue to collect PVC. They did not post it to them. They collected. So that means they wanted to participate. But something happened on election day. There was a drop. They did not come out. So we need to build that trust. That is number one. Number two is I also believe, and then which is something we try to find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, some percentage of people were also affected by the FCT minister declaration of 22 hours curfew. You know, see, it's not everybody that works with the government that they already affected. There are some private sector essential workers, people that are working in Abuja, and at the end of the day, they intend, when they close by 7, by whatever, they intend to go back to wherever, to go to where they are going to vote, the Abaji or Kwali, whatever. But the curfew will have made some of them to get stuck, so they won't be able to vote. Then, the other point I also want to make is you'd also need to look at, in terms of sensitization, is key. And we have to see, we cannot over educate the people. So we have to keep at it. We have to keep talking about it, because it should not just be one of those elections.
There's the issue of voters waking up in the morning to find that their polling units had been changed. Did you also confirm
it's
that?
One of, I mean,
especially considering a curfew, how do people move? Even though INEC had said that it was that polling units were moved just a few meters away, but we saw reports online that suggested that people had their polling units changed kilometers away.
So, you see, one thing INEC need to understand is that some of the, you see, some of these movements or change of polling unit move people from one polling unit to the other. Personally, I witnessed some that are very close. And at the same time, I saw some that were like kilometers. And such person at Gaki there went back home. He said they cannot trek that distance. And I saw somebody from that same polling unit that got to the place, couldn't find his name. They said he didn't get SMS, he didn't get anything.
So what's the explanation? What's the explanation for that kind of change on election day? The question would be, did INEC decide to make that change on election day, or was it on?
No, it was not done on election day.
So why did they take that long for INEC to get that kind of information, to send that kind of information out?
It was not done on election day. INEC, if you look at the statement, INEC said they've started this entire process on the 18th, sending SMS, sending email to people. Some did not get the SMS. Some got the SMS and said, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I met a man who says, "I have been voting in this place since 1999." He said, "Over 20 years." 1999. Why do you now move me? That was the same man I said went back home. So there was one or two. Now he went back home because where they moved him was actually quite a distance. But this is what I'm trying to say. Staying in the office and say, look, the next polling unit is this place to this place, may on paper may be shorter than in reality. So and I think that is not really necessary.
Okay, let me ask you two questions just as we wrap this up. You've monitored elections, and I want to find out from you, because this has been making the rounds and people question the legality or otherwise. The FCT minister monitoring polling units on election day, do you think it has any illegality around it? We've released our statements. That is impunity taken to another level. He has no business in monitoring election. He's not an election official. That's just it. He was never accredited by INEC to monitor election. And don't forget, ICES, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, have a policy, have a rule, have a law that says, look, politicians are not allowed to move about on election day, even with their security. But this is what the FCT minister was doing. He was not even a contestant. He was not even voting in the election, and suddenly assumed, the election monitor, a position of election monitor, and you are not even the Inspector General of Police. You are not the DPO, you are not the Commissioner of Police. So what are you monitoring? You are a politician. You have vested interest in the election. So what are you monitoring? You see, and this is what we need to do. We need to, both INEC and the security agency must do something about this. Or else, in 2027,
This is setting a precedence. Don't forget all the things we have been doing, we have been having now in our election. Vote buying, apathy, it started somewhere, it's precedence, and in fact, election violence. But because we do nothing about it, people are taking it to the higher level. So let's tell ourselves, if in the next election in Ondo, in Ekiti or Osun, another politician do this, he has taken a clue from here. You cannot overlook this, and another person will do it in Ekiti and Osun, and you say you want to arrest the person.
Fair enough. Now, my final question to you would be on the Independent National Electoral Commission, because over time we've heard commentators say that it would be better for INEC to conduct local government elections across the state, considering how they are shabbily conducted and the local state governors are practically imposing their candidates on the people. But with the conduct of this FCT election and the irregularities that have been observed, the shortfalls of INEC at this level, would you say that those who call for INEC to handle local government elections across the country are in the right?
Well, I think they are right, if you ask me, because the reason why majority are saying, look, let INEC conduct at the local government level is because the law today permits the State House of Assembly to make laws that will govern the SEC election. That will govern the local government election in their state. So think about it. In some states, the entire assembly is in the pocket of the governor. So you can imagine the kind of laws they are making. Recently, let me give you the picture of the local government election. Recently, which we are going to release the report any moment from now, we went through the 36 states, the election, and we met with all the states' independent election commission to get data of their last election. I tell you, most of the state SEC don't have voter turnout. Most of them don't have figures for winners. They will just tell you party A won. What is the figure? What is the closest? What is the difference between imagine what they don't have. So that is the kind of election they conduct. So, and people feel that because INEC is a national body, that will give it a bit of credence and then integrity to be able to do that. And that is the point. But in the actual fact, we need to also look at how do we strengthen this here, because this is still what our law says. So, because that is federalism, and we should be able to strengthen them to be able to be independent.
Mr. Bukola, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on Political Paradigm.
Thank you very much.
Don't get tired. Get tired of money, because I remember last time I spoke with you, you said that even the international supporters, our international donors are tired of pumping money into improving our elections and not getting results. So I can imagine how you feel. We feel that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.